the night my husband took his second wife. I sat beneath the tree in the courtyard, hollow and still, all night long. He said our promise to be one soul through countless lifetimes was nothing but empty words, not to be taken seriously. Later, he was locked in prison, and I stood outside the bars, listening to his questioning. Ah, June, does our promise to be together through all lifetimes still hold? Our bond was never meant to be in this life, nor will it ever be in the next. See, speaking of those long-forgotten tales, words that invite only scorn. Luo Shuang. Have the birds packed away this year's persimmons? Why are they gone so early? Every autumn, the hanging persimmons bring such festive cheer, glowing red like lanterns. Passing by the persimmon tree beside the courtyard, I couldn't help but ask at the sight of its bare branches. Madam, these persimmons. What of them? They were still hanging fine just days ago. Madam, the master picked them yesterday to send to Miss Lee in the side courtyard. He said the red color brings good fortune and wards off misfortune. And the old lady? Does she know about this? Of course she knows. The persimmon tree faces her window directly. Whether they're there or not, the old lady would know. Understood. You may all leave now. Madam, perhaps I should stay and keep you company. Luo Shuang suggested to me. No need. I'm merely here to feed the fish. Don't worry about me. I watched the fish in the lake's center sink silently to the bottom. Yet the fish food in my hand lingered, unthrown. Reeds by the lakeside swayed in the wind, bending and twisting. Madam, the wind is strong here. Let's return first. Luo Shuang. Tell me, are men's hearts like these reeds, swaying without steadfastness? Back at the Prime Minister's residence, I once argued with my sister. She claimed all men in this world are like reeds, wavering without permanence. But I always argued against her. I said a gentleman should be like a bedrock, unmovable and steadfast. How could he be like reeds? While some men in this world are fickle, others are deeply devoted. The notion of soulmates destined for each other through countless lifetimes isn't just a jest. True lovers will always find their way to fulfill it. But now I find my sister was right. Men in this world are fickle, swaying like reeds with no steadfast day. And I am like this stubborn stone by the lake, unmovable, unshakable. My heart and body are bound to this husband's home. Madam, please do not speak thus. The master still holds you in his heart. The wind is strong by the lake, let us return to the house first. Yes. The wind is strong by the lake. The wind is strong by the lake. As I sat down in my small courtyard, hurried footsteps echoed outside. Zhu Jun, what foolish thing have you done today? My hand paused mid-sip of tea. I lifted my eyes to meet Ji Shiqing's furious gaze. Your humble servant is dull-witted. I do not understand what my lord refers to. Smash! Ji Shiqing snatched the teacup and hurled it violently to the floor. Shattered fragments and splashed tea water stung my eyes, forcing me to shut them. You're still playing dumb? Yesterday I told you to send some of the estate's charcoal rations to the East Garden. Why didn't you deliver it? Autumn's chill has already set in. How are they supposed to endure without charcoal? How could you be so cruel? Ji Shiqing snarled at me. The estate's charcoal rations don't begin distribution until next month. Even the old madam hasn't received hers yet. How could we possibly supply another estate first? Besides, I already sent several fine silk quilts to the East Garden today. How is that being cruel? Qingyang has just arrived at the estate. The East Wing has been unoccupied for so long. With over half a month left until next month. What's wrong with using them now? It would be acceptable to let the old madam use them first. But what justification does the East Wing have? Setting aside whether it's a guest or not. You've brought your concubine into the estate. Why should you still have reason to use the estate's silver? It's because you refused to allow me to take a concubine. Had you consented, would it even be considered keeping a mistress? You've been married to me for 10 years yet still cannot bear an heir. That single failure alone would justify divorcing you 800 times over. I merely wish to grant Qingyang the status of a concubine. It would not threaten your position as my lawful wife. Why are you still dissatisfied? I'm not satisfied. Who do you think is responsible for my inability to bear children? If I hadn't taken that sword strike for you back then, damaging my womb, would I still be unable to have my own child? Enough. You keep bringing up that incident. I did wrong you back then. But haven't I given you the position of primary wife? Enough. If I hadn't shielded you from that sword, you'd be dead already. How could you dare scold me now? Besides, as the second daughter of the Prime Minister's household, I could marry anyone and still be the primary wife. Don't speak to me in that patronizing tone. You're utterly unreasonable. In 7 days is an auspicious date, I shall marry Qingyang as my secondary wife. Hearing this, I froze, feeling all strength drain from me. My voice softened, tinged with an indescribable sorrow as I asked softly. So what? So the promise you made back then, to be together for all eternity, no longer holds. Is that it? Don't bring up things from so long ago. Every time you dredge up these old stories, it gives me a headache. You're getting old and your temper's flaring. You're always harping on these past events. Every word like I owe you something. There's not a shred of joy in Qingyang. Arrange the wedding soon. In 7 days. Either I marry Qingyang, or you leave this household of your own accord. Watching Ji Shiqing walk toward the door with his hands behind his back. The corner of my eye, splashed by tea, flushed red again and again, a single tear falling. Luo Shuang. On the 28th of this month, a new bride will be wed. Gazing at the sole persimmon tree laden with fruit in the courtyard, the metallic sweetness rose and fell in my throat, finally dissolving into crimson plum blossoms scattered across the ground. Someone. The mistress is coughing up blood. Ji Shiqing ultimately married his new bride. Seated in the courtyard, I watched the fiery red lanterns hang high over the east garden, the celebratory clamor never ceasing. Luo Shuang. You say this red symbolizes joy, no wonder the persimmons were sent to the east garden. Madam, you should rest early. You caught a chill days ago and coughed up blood. The physician said you must rest well. We should retire early then. It's fine. Luo Shuang. Fetch that fox fur coat for me to wear. Wasn't that made for you by the master? Didn't you treasure it dearly before? Such things are meant to be used. Leaving them untouched is not right. Tonight, with the deep night and heavy dew, it's most fitting to wear it. Remember to have Ah Fu pick the persimmons from the tree by the wall too. The red of those persimmons still cannot match the festive cheer of the red lanterns. Yes, madam. Seeing I wouldn't budge, Luo Shuang went inside, retrieved the fox fur coat, draped it over me, brought out a hot water bottle for my hands, and brewed a pot of ginseng tea, placed it by the table. Meanwhile, Ah Fu had picked the red persimmons and approached me, asking how I wished them prepared. I lifted a persimmon and popped it into my mouth. Madam, these persimmons haven't been washed. May I rinse them first before eating? It matters not. They're bitter anyway, we'll discard them. Cut down this persimmon tree tomorrow and plant jasmine in its place. Plant some bamboo over there too. Build a trellis, and surround it with grapevines. I instructed Ah Fu and Luo Shuang, then lifted my ginseng tea for a sip. Luo Shuang. Tomorrow go ask the physician for some tonic herbs to replenish qi and blood. Then visit the Dew Pavilion to buy rouge, powder, and moisturizing cream. This autumn air is dry and harsh, truly unbearable. But madam, weren't you always the most opposed to extravagance? The prices at Linglu Pavilion are shockingly high. What if the master inquires? It matters not. Take the silver from my dowry. I shall explain it to the master myself. Seated in the courtyard, I listened as the celebratory sounds from the east garden gradually faded. Finally, all was still. The moonlight was cool as water, and the flickering lights of the east garden burned until dawn. I watched a thin frost settle on my fox fur coat and touched the hot water bottle in my hand. Already cold to the touch. Prepare to change. Luo Shuang. It wouldn't do for the new bride to see me like this. Remember to bring out that set of South Sea pearl jewelry from my dowry. It will serve as a wedding gift. Madam, that is the most valuable piece in the dowry. Are you truly giving it to that harlot? Luo Shuang. Mind your tongue. From today, she is the new mistress of this household. No gossiping behind her back. Prepare what I tell you to prepare. No further questions. By afternoon, after I had finished my meal, she still hadn't arrived. I waved Luo Shuang over and instructed her to carry out my orders from yesterday. The next day, just after I finished breakfast, Ji Xieqing arrived with Li Yueqing. True to her name, Li Yueqing carried an air of cool detachment, yet also possessed a delicate, willow-like fragility. No wonder Ji Xieqing was so devoted, spending his entire year's salary to redeem her and marry her as a secondary wife. Suddenly, I recalled our wedding day. Ji Xieqing had supported me in the same way as we went to meet the old lady. Only now, I was the one seated on the main hall, while he brought his new love to see me. Before he could speak, I raised my hand to summon Luo Shuang, instructing her to fetch the headpiece inlaid with South Sea pearls. I knew my husband cherished his younger sister. Today he brought her for me to see, and upon seeing her, she truly is a delightful sight. Considering the bond between us sisters, sharing the same husband, please accept this small token of goodwill today. Ji Xieqing glanced at the jewelry in Luo Shuang's hands, cleared his throat uncomfortably, and addressed Li Yueqing. Since that's the case, accept it. You are now one of the mistresses of this household, there's no need for such formality. I smiled as I placed the jewelry box into Li Yueqing's hands. Just as she was about to curtsy in thanks, Ji Xieqing gently helped her up. Qingyang has been unwell lately. There's no need for formalities. He added, but I heard your maid made quite a few purchases at Ninglu Pavilion yesterday. Since I've entrusted the household management to you, is this how you oversee things? I paused, then summoned Shuangjiang to retrieve the rouge bought at Ninglu Pavilion yesterday. I thought it wasn't enough to prepare a gift for my younger sister, so I wanted to add something extra to express my feelings. Besides, I used my own dowry for this, not the household's money. I also sent a gift to my elder sister. I heard Ninger's birthday is next month, so I thought I'd send her some Ningxue cream early. I noticed Ji Xieqing's expression had softened considerably. Just then, Li Yueqing spoke up beside us. I've long heard of the deep bond between my husband and his aunt. Seeing how thoughtful you are, sister, I imagine your relationship with her must be equally close. As if struck by a thought, Ji Xieqing gave a cold snort and replied indifferently. You're thoughtful. But as you mentioned the other day, the household's finances are strained. Mother and I reviewed the accounts and discovered your west garden has the highest expenditures. I froze. The courtyard spending the most silver were the old ladies and Ji Xieqing's. How could it be mine? I grabbed Luo Shuang, who was about to storm off demanding an explanation, signaling her to stay and listen. Moreover, whether you truly used your dowry to prepare gifts for the Du Pavilion remains unverified. Given your extravagant wastefulness, the estate's management shall henceforth fall to Qingyang. My dowry. I shall not relinquish my dowry. My parents affixed the family seal upon it. It cannot be dispersed without my consent. To do otherwise would tarnish my husband's reputation as one coveting a bride's trousseau. Humph. Truly a family lacking in propriety, raising a mistress equally devoid of decorum. Tomorrow, hand over all ledgers and records to your mother. You need not manage the household affairs anymore. Qingyang and your mother will handle those matters, you needn't concern yourself. Externally, I shall announce that you are convalescing due to illness. Therefore, refrain from going out during this period. Appearing in public would be unseemly. Let Qingyang attend the other ladies' gatherings on your behalf. Yes. I curtsied and saw off Ji Xiqing and Li Yuqing. Madam, you are being foolish. Handing over the household management so rashly, what livelihood will we have left in this mansion? Luo Shuang. Prepare some milk for tonight's bath. Madam. You. Watch your words, be careful. Walls have ears. From that day on, I rarely ventured out of my courtyard. Only occasional whispers reached my ears. Nothing more than the old madam praising Li Yuqing for her quick wit and intelligence, saying she was most favored, or Ji Xiqing taking her to yet another gathering of noble ladies, showering her with care. I lifted my head to touch the newly transplanted jasmine and green bamboo, then turned to ask Luo Shuang. Luo Shuang, why does this green bamboo seem to wither more each day? Madam, winter approaches, and the bamboo leaves should fall. Indeed. The manor grows colder by the day. Has this month's charcoal ration not been distributed yet? Madam, all other courtyards in the manor have received theirs. This. Only our courtyard has not received it. Is that correct? Yes. Madam. Before I could speak, Li Yuqing entered my courtyard accompanied by her maidservant. She wore a crimson robe embroidered with golden auspicious clouds. Though she hadn't donned the headpiece I gifted her, she sported the latest peony hairpin and jeweled hairpins from the Lotus Pavilion, along with a novel style of step-shaking hair ornament. I heard you spend a fortune transplanting trees. Yet my courtyard remains as desolate today as it was that day. Li Yuqing strode in with purpose, her demeanor no longer as fragile as before. They say flowers bring vitality to people, but people also bring vitality to flowers. Don't you agree, sister? Tomorrow I'll send several peonies from my courtyard. My husband paid a hefty price to find them, they even bloom in winter. I motioned for Luo Shuang to prepare some ginseng tea and snacks while inviting Li Yuqing to sit. I shan't stay long. Sister. The old lady awaits me to learn household management. There's no need for that ginseng tea either. After all this time, you're still the same. Best to stop it altogether. It hasn't been doing much good anyway, just a fancy name. With expenses everywhere in this household, stopping it will save quite a bit. Besides, after all those trees were transplanted into your courtyard the other day, I discussed it with my husband. We decided to deduct the cost from your charcoal allowance, so your winter supply will be halved this year. I hear it's going to be a bitterly cold winter, so your charcoal allowance will only be distributed next month. Having said my piece, I'll leave the ginseng tea for you to nourish your health, as I have no use for it. With that, I headed to the old lady's quarters. I summoned Shuangjiang and instructed her to pawn the gold hairpin from my dowry for silver. Then buy some ginseng and charcoal. I touched my skin, softened by days of milk baths and cream, and instructed Shuangjiang to order more milk and cream, though discreetly, to avoid drawing attention. News of that day's events eventually reached Ji Xiqing and the old lady. Ji Xiqing paid a visit, offering hollow consolation. He merely said that since Li Yuqing was new to managing the household, she might have made some mistakes. He asked me to be more understanding and not dwell on it, lest it become a laughingstock if it got out. Perhaps it was my gentle reply, "My lord speaks wisely," that unsettled him. In his fluster, he grabbed my hand, but froze the moment his fingers touched my soft, smooth skin. I gently raised my hand to trace the fine lines at his temples, then had Luo Shuang fetch the Ningxia cream to apply it carefully for him. "I've seen how hard you've been working these past days, my lord. The Ningxia cream I gave my sister actually included a portion for you too. I thought she might apply it for you. Perhaps those jars weren't very effective. Or perhaps you've been too exhausted lately. Otherwise, you wouldn't have developed so many fine lines. The year-end festivities are approaching. Though things have soured between you and my elder sister, we must maintain appearances for mother's sake. Ji Shiqing suddenly seized my hand and said, I thought you were still angry with me. But you remain as magnanimous as ever. I'll send gifts to my sister's quarters. Your lingering cold troubles me deeply. I'll have the steward send you more charcoal shortly. A warmer room will help you recover faster. Thank you for your thoughtfulness, my lord. With the new year approaching, the household needs its silver for other matters. There's no need to waste it on this. Besides, I used some of my dowry silver to buy firewood from the village the other day. It should suffice. That won't do. It's nothing, my lord. This household relies on you to support the entire family. It's only right to be frugal. Just as Ji Shiqing was about to say something, he was urgently summoned by a servant sent from outside. Later I heard frequent quarrels from the east wing. It seemed Ji Shiqing wanted to allocate more charcoal rations to me. But Liu Qing shot it down by bringing up the matter of transplanting trees from my courtyard. Furious, Ji Shiqing smashed several more cups. Liu Qing also found excuses to visit me several times. But each time I sent her away, citing convalescence and seclusion. Days passed peacefully enough, save for the dwindling charcoal allowance I received. Luo Shuang tried several times to storm over and confront them, but I stopped her each time. As the year drew to a close, I heard that Liu Qing had taken it upon himself to send a lavish gift to his elder sister's residence. The old lady praised it profusely for days on end. But Ji Shiqing was so furious he came to see me several times. I urged him to explain his strained relationship with his aunt to Liu Qing, reasoning that as a newcomer to the household, he might be misunderstood. Yet Ji Shiqing refused. I knew it stemmed from Liu Qing's earlier remark about his close bond with his sister, but he wouldn't stoop to admit it for fear of losing face. After a snowfall, the spring festival arrived. I told everyone my old injury had flared up, so I'd been resting these past few days. Meanwhile, with the old madam's help, Liu Qing successfully hosted the New Year banquet without incident. I traced the speckled green leaves on the jasmine branch and asked Luo Shuang if the jasmine had survived. Would the green bamboo and grapevine sprout next spring too? I no longer recall Luo Shuang's answer, but the green bamboo and grapevines did indeed thrive. Among the transplanted jasmine, someone had slipped in a large gardenia bush. In the July heat, its fragrance mingled with the jasmine's delicate scent, adding a touch of whimsy to the quiet courtyard. A small pond in the corner now held flowing water. In the height of summer, several red carp swam quietly at the bottom, reflected against emerald lotus leaves and blooms. The bamboo and vines had grown as I'd envisioned, forming a small, shaded pavilion beneath a canopy of green. I often had Luo Shuang hang mosquito netting there. At night, sipping floral tea, I'd gaze at the stars and moon, utterly content. The sound of cups shattering echoed again from the east garden. 3 days of major quarrels and 2 of minor ones, I'd long grown accustomed to it. I summoned Luo Shuang to prepare some cooling snacks and add a touch of sugar to the tea for flavor. I went to feed the red carp a little, and while I was at it, released the fish confined at the far end of the pond, letting the carp stretch their legs. After such prolonged recuperation, my health had nearly fully restored. When I mentioned craving cooling tea, Luo Shuang simply assumed the recent heat had made me seek something to dispel internal heat. I lifted the cup and sipped. The sweet white porcelain cradled emerald green tea, its base faintly reflecting grapevines. I glanced up at the grapes, thriving but still green, then lowered my head and drained the cup in one gulp. Before long, an uninvited guest appeared at the courtyard gate. The moment Ji Shiqing stepped inside, he couldn't help but look around eagerly. It's been months, he remarked repeatedly, and this little courtyard has changed tremendously. The fragrance of southern gardenias mingles beautifully with the jasmine, creating a wonderfully soothing scent. The little fish in the pond are lively too, seemingly untouched by the height of summer. You've truly kept this little courtyard in excellent order. It's so comfortable here. With that, he picked up the tea on the table and drank it in one gulp. I smiled as I poured him another cup and invited him to sit in the pavilion. If it pleases you, my lord, then it pleases me. It seems Ajuan has done something to your liking. I had Luo Shuang add some heat-clearing herbs and a couple of ice cubes to this pot. It's just right for summer drinking. She then called Luo Shuang over, instructing her to fetch another ice cube. This ice was sent by father and mother. The Prime Minister's household has been favored lately. And even I, their married-out daughter, have reaped the benefits. Yesterday, I had Luo Shuang send some to my sister, so she could use it for the old lady and her husband. I imagine my husband slept exceptionally well last night. Ji Xieching chuckled. But I knew Liu Qing had sent half the ice to her sister's family and another quarter to the old lady. The remaining quarter stayed in her courtyard. These past days, Ji Xieching and Liu Qing had been arguing constantly. I heard he'd slept in the study for several nights. Naturally, he hadn't enjoyed any of it. I watched him silently, then lowered my head to pour him another cup of tea. But he seized my hand. Madam looks considerably younger lately. This hand feels as smooth and tender as it once was. It's simply that I've neglected household affairs these days, leaving me with more leisure. It's been hard on Sister Yue Qing, and the housekeeper has suffered greatly managing things. The maids in your courtyard have grown fairer and more delicate under your care. I think Luo Shuang shouldn't be called Luo Shuang anymore, she should be called Bailu. White dew. For her pure, pristine complexion. I playfully punched Ji Xieching. It's all because sister said ginseng tea was too expensive this winter. To save costs, I had Luo Shuang order some milk from outside. We didn't waste the milk warmer either, they used the leftover water to wash hands and faces. Which is why their skin's a bit fairer now. And as you suggested, I should have renamed Luo Shuang and Shuangjiang to Gardenia and Jasmine, aren't they fair-skinned too? Besides, there's another meaning behind it. Oh. What meaning? Gardenia, doesn't it imply holding your hand and growing old together? Jasmine, well, it's a plea to stay by my side. Ji Xieching laughed heartily and drained his cup. I refilled it for him. But as I poured, I pointed to the bottom of the cup. Your tea is so sweet and perfect. I didn't even notice the grape in the cup. I recalled how June used to point to the grape at the bottom of the cup like this. She'd trick me, saying she'd put a grape in the tea, claiming it tasted like grapes. Come to think of it, that was many years ago. After all these years of marriage, you remain the one who understands me best. They say few young couples grow old together, most drift apart by middle age. Yet it turns out you, June, understand me most of all. I smiled without responding, but sent Luo Shuang to fetch some green bamboo wine from the backyard. This green bamboo wine is something I learned to brew this year. I'm not sure how it tastes, but you should try it first. My husband. All right. All right. The wine smells rich with bamboo fragrance, it must be good. With that, he downed the entire cup. If you like it, my husband, you can come directly for more. I've brewed quite a few bamboo tube wines in the backyard. But this bamboo tube wine doesn't last long after brewing. Once the bamboo turns yellow and the leaves fall, it's no longer drinkable. Oh, that's quite novel. He finished his cup. Yes. I found it incredibly novel when I first heard about it too. But after tasting it, I discovered its crisp, sweet flavor. I thought you'd surely enjoy it. So I learned how to make it myself. See? You do like it. Ji Xieching held my hand as he spoke. June, I've neglected you lately. I never imagined you'd forgive me and treat me so kindly. I thought you'd be angry, that we might never see each other again. Yet you remain the one who understands me best, knows me deepest, and cherishes me most. As he spoke, Ji Xieching's hand reached toward mine. I squeezed my palm and pressed it against his as I replied. My lord jests. How could a married couple ever grow apart? My lips gently brushed his cheek, leaving a faint trace of rouge on his skin that later showed through the white lining of his inner robe. Ji Xieching's eyes darkened as he suddenly clasped my hand. I must admit, even in middle age, Ji Xieching still possessed a certain charm. No wonder I was so consumed by desire back then, insisting on marrying him. I lowered my head and whispered into Ji Xieching's ear. Since that's the case, my lord, simply cherish me. Ji Xieching stayed here for several consecutive days. Things at the East Garden had grown quite restless these past days. Finally, while Ji Xieching was attending court, Li Yueqing appeared at the gate of my small courtyard. I was wondering why my husband has been visiting sister so often lately. It truly is a pleasant place. Li Yueqing entered, leaning on a maid with one hand and stroking her belly with the other. Sister, you've been living quite the carefree life lately. Having the household management fall on my shoulders is truly exhausting. Look how much deeper the lines around my eyes have become. I rose, took Li Yueqing's hand, guided her to sit down, and poured her some tea. We've all seen how hard you've been working these days. Little sister, it's my fault for failing to meet my husband and the old lady's expectations. After all these years of managing the household, no one has done it as well as you. The smooth running of this household lately owes much to your efforts. Li Yueqing's smile stiffened before she replied. Sister, your complexion has improved greatly. Have you found some miraculous remedy? I'd love to learn your secret. It's the Ningxu Pavilion's Ningxu cream I gave you before. Since your supply must be running low, I've prepared a few more jars for you. After speaking, I motioned to Luo Shuang to bring several more jars of the cream for Li Yueqing's maidservant. Then I turned back to Li Yueqing and said, Do you still have those original jars? Sister? The Linglu Pavilion is currently collecting them. They say 5 empty jars can be exchanged for a new one. Have you gone to exchange them yet? Li Yueqing's eyes twinkled as she touched her belly. Sister, you truly are as thoughtful as my husband says. You've even considered this for me. I've been feeling unwell lately and don't need so much anyway. She covered her mouth and giggled softly. The other day, when my sister missed her period, my husband hastily summoned a physician. He said there are signs of conception. Thinking of how you've been in the household all these years without bearing children, I wanted my husband to harness this auspicious energy to help you conceive soon too, so we can both bring new life to the household. My husband has been staying at your quarters these past few days. When he takes her pulse next month, perhaps he can check on you too. Who knows? Maybe you'll be blessed with good fortune as well. Before I could respond, Ji Xieching rushed in from outside the courtyard. Li Yueqing, what nonsense are you spouting now? You've finished dealing with the troubles in the East Garden, and now you come here to gossip. Watching Li Yueqing's face turn pale, I rose and placed my hand on Ji Xieching's arm. My lord, why such anger? Did something at court today upset you? Your sister merely came to visit the West Garden and share some good fortune, nothing more. There's some cooling tea here. I'll have Shuangjiang bring it. Good fortune? What good fortune could possibly be shared when it's so far removed from us? After finishing a cup of the cooling tea, Ji Xieching turned to Li Yueqing and said, What are you still standing here for? Return to your East Garden. Li Yueqing stormed off toward the East Garden. Ji Xieching poured himself a cup of tea and turned to me. Did you suffer any injustice today? What injustice? It's just that my husband started by criticizing my sister. If he's hurt her feelings, that wouldn't be good. It's fine. As long as you weren't wronged. You're the thoughtful one. Audiobook. No one in this household is easy to deal with. I reached out to rub Ji Xieching's brow. He gently rested his head on my lap. It seems this latecomer still can't match the bond we've shared since childhood. Wouldn't you agree, June? I find my sister to be both sensible and capable in managing affairs. Why would you say such a thing, my lord? Before Ji Xiecheng could respond, a servant hurried in, announcing that the old lady was awaiting him in the east garden. Ji Xiecheng's brow furrowed. He raised his cup as if to smash it at the servant's feet, then realized he wasn't in the east garden. With a sullen sigh, he lowered his hand. Off you go. I'll be there shortly. This nuisance is truly vexing. I rose and pressed a kiss to Ji Xiecheng's cheek before saying, My lord, go quickly and return soon. Tonight, Jun will stew your favorite lotus seed and mint soup for you. You are indeed thoughtful. With that, he stepped out the courtyard gate. Watching him hurry toward the east garden, his gaze fixed on the faint blush on my cheeks, I called back to Luo Shuang without turning around. Go instruct the cook to stew the lotus seed and mint soup. But madam, didn't you tell master you'd stew it yourself? Why have you asked the cook to take over? It matters not. Whoever stews it makes little difference. Besides, whether my husband will even get to drink it today is still uncertain. Go fetch the garments delivered from the golden thread tailors. Let me try them on. This water green hue is striking, just looking at it feels refreshing. Remember to bring that white jade hairpin too. And the magnolia-shaped hairpin, they should complement the new gown nicely. While I was trying on the clothes, I heard the sound of porcelain shattering again from the east garden. Fu Gui, who I'd sent to gather news, returned. He said Liu Qing had used up all the jars of jade cream ointment I'd given her before. She'd exchanged a few of the empty jars for new ones, and smashed the rest. I had the kitchen maid bring out the lotus seed and mint soup to cool. Unexpectedly, Ji Xiecheng appeared in the west garden shortly after, picked up the already chilled soup from the table, and drank it all in one gulp. This lotus seed and mint soup tastes different from your previous batch. Did you alter the recipe? I hadn't expected my husband to visit my west garden tonight. With the summer heat, I simply had the cook prepare some to distribute to each courtyard later. Since you're here, my lord, come see the new attire I received today. I entered the room and donned a water green inner robe, layered beneath a moon-white outer gown. Scattered embroideries of jasmine blossoms and green bamboo adorned the cuffs. My hair was pinned with a white jade hairpin and a magnolia hairpin, with a green hairpin dangling at the end. When I emerged, I saw Ji Xiecheng's eyes light up noticeably. He stepped forward and took my hand. Madam, your attire today reminds me of when I first asked for your hand in marriage. You wore this same hairpin then? Though you were dressed in pink, already breathtakingly beautiful. Little did I know this water green shade would complement you even more splendidly. Truly exquisite. Truly beautiful. I lowered my head and smiled gently. Before I could say more, Ji Xiecheng swept me into his arms and hurried us into the inner chambers. The next morning, Ji Xiecheng left early. I heard Luo Shuang tell me that last night, Liu Qing had ordered the servants of the east garden to uproot the peonies overnight, intending to discard them from the estate. I sent Fu Gui to intercept them, instructing the servants to clear a plot in the bamboo grove on the back mountain and replant the peonies there. Over the next month, Ji Xiecheng was preoccupied with unknown matters and seldom at the manor. I heard Liu Qing sent messengers several times, hoping he would accompany her to the Duke of Dinghua's birthday banquet. But Ji Xiecheng refused each time. In the end, Liu Qing had to go alone and apparently made quite a spectacle of herself. I stroked my belly, thinking the time had come. Finally, during the monthly pulse-taking by the estate physician, I heard the words, "Congratulations, madam. Heartfelt congratulations. You are with child." I stood frozen in place until Ji Xiecheng burst into laughter and embraced me. Excellent! Excellent! I, Ji Xiecheng, shall have my own legitimate heir. Excellent! Excellent! Rewards for all! He then ordered attendants to bring forth silver. I watched Liu Qing standing nearby, His long fingernails snapped off, burying my face in Ji Shiqing's embrace. I let a faint smile touch my lips. On the other side, the old madam, upon hearing the news, hurried forward to grasp my hand. She slipped the jade bracelet symbolizing the position of principal wife onto my wrist as she spoke. I always knew Jun was blessed. Now she carries our Ji family's first legitimate grandson. Had she conceived sooner, what business would others have? With that, she shot Li Yuqing a fierce glare. Unlike someone else, utterly inept at bearing children. Had she conceived sooner, she might have brought some life to this household. I watched Li Yuqing seethe with fury. Yet she still put on a show of obedience, telling the matriarch she was absolutely right. That tired old line had been directed at me countless times before. Never imagined today someone else would have to endure it too. I was overjoyed. After that pulse-taking session, I began secluding myself under the pretext of nurturing the pregnancy. All the congratulatory gifts Li Yuqing sent were stored away in the rear courtyard's gift repository. Hearing the sound of cups shattering in the east wing grow louder, I gently stroked my still unformed fetus and drifted into a peaceful sleep. But disaster struck one morning in the 3rd month of my pregnancy. Upon waking, I felt a dull ache in my womb. Just as I was about to send Luo Shuang to fetch a physician, Li Yuqing stormed in. Smack! Her palm struck me hard enough to jerk my head to the side. The sharp slap echoed piercingly in the quiet dawn. Warmth spread across my leg as I lifted my gaze to see Li Yuqing's mouth moving rapidly. You, Zhu Jun, you knew perfectly well that my husband and my sister-in-law don't get along. Why didn't you say anything? Because of you, I made a complete fool of myself at yesterday's birthday banquet. I've worked so hard to run this household for so long, sending so many gifts to my sister-in-law's residence. And not a single person warned me. You've got some nerve. You've bought off everyone in the mansion. As I watched Li Yuqing continue her tirade, a buzzing sound began in my ears. Finally, I collapsed with a thud in the pavilion, blood spreading between my legs. Help! Someone! Help! The mistress has miscarried. When I awoke, Ji Shiqing sat by my bed, his hair disheveled. Seeing his bloodshot eyes, I touched my own belly. Husband, our child. We'll have another. We'll have another. Hearing my words, tears spilled from my eyes and rolled into the pillow. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. June. Had I known this would happen, I would never have married that poisonous woman. Husband, this was our first child. The tiger head shoes I made for him just the other day had only the last stitch sewn. I was waiting for him to wear them. My voice was soft, yet tears kept streaming down my cheeks. I'm sorry, June. We'll have children. We will. There won't be any more. My child. Never again. Thinking of this, I finally cried out loud. Ji Shiqing, standing beside me, could no longer hold back his tears either. In the end, he couldn't resist hugging me. June, if only I hadn't been so foolish back then. If we'd stayed together through all our lifetimes, would this have happened? Would our child still be with us? Let's not speak of the past. Don't bring up these things anymore, it only brings sorrow. After saying this, I had Luo Shuang escort Ji Shiqing out. I heard he stood outside the courtyard for a long time before finally heading to the east garden. Before long, the eastern garden erupted in a cacophony of shouts and blows, the clamor echoing incessantly. My western garden reverted to its secluded state. I heard Ji Shiqing had demoted Li Yuqing to a lowly concubine, stripped her of stewardship duties, and handed them to the old lady. He intended to transfer full stewardship to me once my health recovered. I also heard the old lady flew into a rage upon seeing the household ledgers, berating Li Yuqing. A lowly creature remains lowly, unfit even for basic stewardship. Yet she dared plot against the master's offspring. Until one day, Visitors arrived from the main estate. Opening the west garden gate, I saw my parents standing outside. Standing in the courtyard, I held back my tears, but finally collapsed into my mother's arms, weeping uncontrollably. Father, mother, take Ajuan away. Please take Ajuan away. I cannot endure another day in this G household. My child calls out to me night after night in his dreams. How could I be so heartless as to abandon him? They say I was their only child. Now that my child is gone, what meaning remains for me in this world? Let me beg to leave this household. From now on, I'll keep company with ancient Buddhas and dim lamps. It will be a way to accumulate blessings and virtue for my child, making his journey in the afterlife smoother, sparing him further harm from petty villains. Hearing my words, my mother wept with me, clutching me tightly and repeating, "My child has suffered so much. Mother will take you home. Mother will take you home today." My father, a man of 7 feet tall, could not hold back his tears either. He turned to Ji Xiecheng, who had just arrived, and declared, "Today, I will see justice done for you. Where is that harlot from your household?" Ji Xiecheng stammered in response to my father. "Father, this is my household's affair. I shall handle it myself. If others learn of this, would they not mock me?" Father stepped forward and struck Ji Xiecheng across the face. The blow landed with far greater force than the Yuechings had against me that day. I watched clearly as Ji Xiecheng's lips swelled and reddened. "I've settled this matter today. Luo Shuang and Shuangjiang, bring that whore here, bound." I watched as Li Yueqing was dragged into my courtyard, tightly bound. The moment she entered, she began screaming loudly, only to fall silent under my father's slaps. I looked at Li Yueqing, her face swollen and red, still wearing that crimson robe with cloud patterns from the day before. Yet she had lost all the composure she had then. "Go to the magistrate's office. Report that the concubine of the Ji household violated the 7 reasons for divorce. Poisoning the legitimate wife. The master of the Ji household favored his concubine and neglected his wife, aiding in the murder of the legitimate wife." Fugui heard this and immediately rose to leave, swatting aside every person who tried to block his path. Ji Xiecheng looked terrified, then stood up and said to my father, "My son-in-law never harbored any intention of favoring a concubine over his wife. He was merely blinded by lust. His mind clouded by this seductive vixen, leading him to commit this foolish act. Father need not trouble himself. I shall settle this matter today." He ordered a whip brought forth and lashed Li Yueching's body and face with it. Within moments, her skin was streaked with crimson marks. Li Yueching burst into maniacal laughter, her voice echoing with madness. "Pig fat clouding your mind? You simply couldn't control your lower half. What nonsense about spreading branches and scattering leaves. You're nothing but a hypocrite blinded by lust. And that foolish woman never knew her infertility was your doing. Had those assassins who targeted you not accidentally injured her, robbing her of her ability to bear children, would this lowly upstart ever have had a chance?" "Shut up! Shut up! June and I were childhood sweethearts for over 20 years. That life-saving bond isn't something you filthy whore can slander. If it weren't for you seducing me, I'd have been with June for all eternity. What business is it of yours?" Ji Xiecheng's eyes blazed crimson as his whip lashed down with increasing ferocity. I was horrified and immediately asked, "Is everything she said true?" Ji Xiecheng dropped the whip and reached for my hand, but my father grabbed his wrist and twisted it back. Yet he kept pleading, "Ah, June, listen to my explanation. Ah, June, listen to me." But my father threw him violently to the ground. "Save your words for the judge of the underworld. Today, my daughter becomes the first to divorce her husband. This filthy, vile Ji household has truly brought shame upon my daughter." With that, he took me and my mother by the arms and led us out. Stepping beyond the mansion gates, I glanced back at Ji Xiecheng, now bound hand and foot by the guards. Ignoring his shrill cries, I walked away without looking back. Outside, the persimmon tree blazed crimson, festive and vibrant. This husband's household that imprisoned me so long, it has no place in my life henceforth. While Ji Xiecheng languished in prison, I visited him specifically to tell him the leaves in the bamboo wine cellar had turned yellow, winter had arrived. Yet he paid no heed, repeating to me incessantly, "Ah June, ah June, our lifetimes together as one soul, you remember. Don't you? You remember, don't you?" I brushed away his agitated hand and spoke calmly. "Didn't you say it yourself? Let bygones be bygones." Hearing these old tales always gave me a headache. After speaking, I rose and pointed to the headpiece atop my head. Watching Ji Xiecheng's eyes widen, I smiled at him. "Recognize it? The most valuable pearl from the South Sea in my dowry? Know how I got it. I bought it at a bargain price. I heard Lady Ji sold off all her family's possessions to try and redeem you. Even this dowry I sent out, she sold. I hear she's been working herself to exhaustion day and night over your affairs lately. June, telling me all this, does it mean you still care about me? June, I was wrong before. Will you forgive me? Let's go back to how we were. Together for all eternity." Smack! I raised my hand and slapped Ji Xiecheng across the face. "Stop dreaming. Ji Xiecheng. What part of you still deserves me? This single slap today will never make up for that sword I took for you back then. From now on, every time I see you, I'll strike you." With that, I slapped him again. "Someone will come to redeem you soon. I advise you to tidy yourself up and hurry to see your dying mother." I strolled leisurely toward the prison exit, where bright light awaited. The cell door slammed shut behind me, locking Ji Xiecheng forever in that darkness. Later, I heard Ji Xiecheng's mother passed away before she could see him one last time. He returned home, dazed for days, and finally used his last few coins to bury her. I also heard he sank into utter despair, spending his days drinking bamboo wine in the backyard bamboo grove. Drunk, he'd stare at the peonies before him, laughing and cursing. He wanted to destroy the peony garden, just as he had once lashed Liu Qing. But then he remembered it was he who had picked them and planted them, and he couldn't bring himself to do it. Day after day, he lived like a madman. In the end, Ji Xiecheng died. He died in the bamboo grove of the backyard. He drank all the bamboo wine the day before the first heavy snow fell. But he lay in the snow and never woke up again. Liu Qing survived despite her severe injuries, though the whip marks left deep scars on her face. After her release, she returned to her old trade of luring men. Though her beauty had faded, her seductive skills still allowed her to scrape by in the lower echelons of the brothel. Rumor had it her clients were either hideously ugly, had peculiar fetishes, or were diseased, unable to choose others. They vented their frustration on her. The last time I saw her, she stood at the door soliciting customers. Though thickly made up, the stench clinging to her was impossible to mask. I gazed at my own beautiful reflection in the bronze mirror and told Fugui to continue driving south. My elder sister mentioned that Lingnan's lychees are exceptionally sweet, making this the perfect season to savor them, while youth still shines bright. Why not roam the world early? Why bind oneself to one place for love, wasting these splendid years? Side story. After so many years as husband and wife with Ji Xiecheng, I've come to understand his preferences. Liu Qing had seemed difficult to deal with from the moment she first paid her respects to me. True to my expectations, after our marriage, she and Ji Xiecheng frequently quarreled. A quarrel or two might be amusing, but too many become tiresome. Sure enough, after one such argument, Ji Xiecheng came to the gate of my courtyard. From the very beginning, I knew that if I sought a divorce because he took a secondary wife, Neither the Ji nor the Zhu families would consent. So I began to scheme. Liu Qing could never conceive in this lifetime. In the earlier batches of the Ningxia cream, I had added a large quantity of contraceptive herbs. Fortunately, she was simple-minded and never thought to have it examined. Even if she had investigated, she wouldn't have been able to detect it. The potion in the Ningxia cream required another ingredient to activate its full effect, one I had hidden in the ice. Separately, neither ingredient worked, but combined, their potency multiplied. Moreover, every year during the designated month, the Ningxu Pavilion held an event to collect back some of the jars. Greedy as she was, she sent the jars to exchange for more Ningxia cream. She refused to hand over the remaining jars to me and instead smashed them herself, which suited my purposes perfectly. Yet I never imagined her selfishness would know no bounds. She used both the Ningxia cream and the ice herself, a combination that maximizes contraceptive efficacy, sparing Ji Xiecheng from his fate of childlessness. But Ji Xiecheng remained utterly unsuspecting. He never knew that after that day, every corner of the courtyard became a trap I set for him. Whether it was Nanji and Jasmine, the grape shadows in his cup, or the non-existent fetus in my womb. Truthfully, I never had a child at all. As a child, I met a wandering divine healer who told me of a curious item, a false pregnancy pill. Taking it would create pregnancy pulses, which would vanish on their own after 3 months. I gambled he wouldn't deceive me, and during those 3 months, I took copious amounts of tonics to nourish my qi and blood. Since I was supposedly pregnant, no one questioned why I consumed so many tonics, they simply assumed I was nourishing the child within. But I only needed to create the appearance of a miscarriage around the birthday banquet to pin the blame on that fool Liu Qing. For this scheme, I even prepared blood bags to ensure absolute success. Thankfully, the plan worked. The claim that bamboo wine must be finished before the leaves fall was also my deception of Ji Xiecheng. Though I never anticipated he'd drink himself to death. I never share these matters with anyone. It suffices that I alone know. Just as I told Luo Shuang, be cautious with your words. Beware, walls have ears. The end.